There's really good records in Israel from the Second Temple period, time of Christ, let's say. What they did was they dug around and they got all these ossuaries with the names carved in them. They just counted the use of names. And then what they do is they just counted all the names in the New Testament. And lo and behold, the ratios are exactly the same. You're also familiar with the name study, right?
Right, yeah. The percentage of names used in the text, in the Gospels, and then how it relates to the ossuaries that they found.
Yeah, so basically some guys a few years back got their PhD by doing this study. And how it kind of goes is there's really good records in Israel from the Second Temple period, time of Christ, let's say. And so what they did was they dug around and they got all these ossuaries to have the names carved in them, because they bury you for a year in a tomb and let you rot. And once you're just bones, they put you in a box. Then they reuse the tombs because the whole country's stone. It's limestone. It's hard to dig. And so you reuse tombs. Put, grandma in a little shoebox over in the corner, just as big as her femur, and reuse the tomb. And then you kind of stack them up. And so you'd have a whole family stacked up in a corner somewhere, which is probably what the Bible is referring to when it talks about being gathered to your fathers. That your fathers, you end up in the same pile of bones with them, at some point. But anyway, they went through that. They also went through documents they could find. Everything they could find a name, and they just counted them. Okay, there's Mary. There's Joseph. There's Peter. There's Simon. Like, they just counted the use of names. And what they discovered was that first century Jews were very, very not creative with names. And it was some crazy number. It's about 60, 70% of the people had about 8 names. There were tons of Yeshuas, like Jesus, tons of Simons, tons of Miriams. There was a Mary on every street corner, basically just tons of Marys. And they got a ratio. And then what they do is they just counted all the names in the New Testament. And lo and behold, the ratios are exactly the same. If 30% of the people were Mary, then 30% of the females in the story were Mary. If 20% were Simon, 20% of the males were Simon in the story. It's exactly lined up. And you're like, oh, come on, who cares? But, honestly, if I asked you right now, write a novel about 12th century Scotland, would you really get the names right? Would you really know like what people were naming their boys and girls in Scotland, 800 years ago? I guess you probably wouldn't,
Not without Google.
Even with Google, it would be tough. I don't even know. I mean, I know Google knows everything, but you use Chat GPT. Write me a novel set in Scotland based on whatever. But no, I just don't. It's not plausible that would be right. And what's even more interesting is that all the people who had super common names like Miriam, Yeshua, Simon, all of those people have titles. Okay, you can't just be Simon because there's 8 other Simons in the room. You have to be Simon the Tanner, Simon the Sorcerer, Simon called Peter. You have to have Simon Barjona, this, and it goes on. All the Simons get a different name because you have to know which Simon we're talking about because there's too many of them. Even Jesus of Nazareth.
Yeah, of Nazareth.
Because his name was quite common. Mary, all the Marys, Mary the mother, Mary Magdalene. Mary, you get a tag with them because you had to distinguish between all the Marys and Simons and Joshua's running around. So who could get that right later, changing things? To me, it's utterly unbelievable. So I trust the text a lot.
Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, click like and subscribe. It really helps us. And if you really enjoyed it, go on over to our website, thelandinthebible.com, and become a supporter. It helps us generate more content and gives you access to our full library of video and Bible study content.